The Bible has stories. It talks about things that people don't always understand. It has been this way for a long time. There are beings in it, mysterious ones, and other things that don't have a name. These stories have been around for centuries. They've made people think, made them question. Here are 10 of those beings from the Bible, the ones that stand out, the ones that people still talk about. Melchisedek. Melchisedek was the king of Salem. He was also a priest of God Most High. When Abram returned from defeating the kings, Melchisedek met him. He brought out bread and wine. He blessed Abram. He said, "Blessed be Abram by God, Most High, creator of heaven and earth. And blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The story of Melchisedek is short, but it is not simple. He appears out of nowhere, no father or mother, no genealogy. He is both a king and a priest. This was unusual. Kings ruled. Priests offered sacrifices. Melchisedek did both. He blessed Abram. Abram who would become Abraham, the father of many nations. This was before the law, before the temple, before the priests of Israel. Melchisedek was different. He is mentioned again, much later, in the Psalms. "You are a priest forever, in the order of Melchizedek." This was about the Messiah, about Jesus. Then in the letter to the Hebrews, Melchizedek is compared to Jesus. Jesus is a high priest, not in the order of Aaron, but in the order of Melchizedek. This means something. It means that Jesus is not just another priest. He is not bound by the law or by genealogy. He is something else. He is a priest because of his power over death, because of his indestructible life. Melchizedek served bread and wine. This was before the Passover, before the Last Supper, but it pointed to them. It pointed to Jesus. The story of Melchizedek is about more than a mysterious figure who blessed Abram. It is about the nature of Jesus' priesthood. It is about a priesthood that transcends the law, that is based on an eternal life, that is about a sacrifice that was once for all. Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of God Most High, is a shadow of what was to come, a shadow of Jesus. The Nephilim, Genesis 6, 1, 4. They were called Nephilim. The sons of God looked at the daughters of men and saw something they wanted. They took it. That's how the Nephilim came to be. They were big. Not just tall, but big like the way the sea is big. People talked about them, said they were giants or maybe heroes. But that's just people talking. They lived in a time before things got washed away, a time when men were men, and the gods kept a closer eye. The Nephilim walked the earth. They did what they wanted. Some said they fought, others said they built. But they were alone in a way, not quite divine, not fully human. They were something else. There wasn't much love for them. Fear, maybe. Respect, perhaps. But not love. The world wasn't kind to those who didn't fit. The flood came. Things changed. The Nephilim became a story, the kind you tell around a fire when the night is cold and the stars are hidden. They were something out of reach, like the way a good day feels when you're in the middle of a bad one. Seraphim, Isaiah 6, 1, 7. Isaiah had seen a lot, but nothing like this. In the year King Uzziah died, he saw the Lord. The train of his robe filled the temple. Seraphim stood above him. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces. With 2 they covered their feet. With 2 they flew. They were not like anything on earth. They were fire and they were air. They sang, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." Their voices shook the foundations. The house was full of smoke. It was a sight you don't forget. Isaiah felt undone. He was a man of unclean lips. He lived among people of unclean lips. Yet his eyes had seen the King, the Lord of hosts. One of the seraphim flew to him. In its hand was a live coal. It had taken it from the altar with tongs. It touched Isaiah's mouth. "See," it said, "this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for." The seraphim were purifiers. They were not messengers or guardians. They were something more. They stood in the presence of God and sang. They made others ready to stand there too. It was a simple thing, but it was everything. Behemoth, Job 40:15-24. Job had lost everything: his wealth, his children, his health. His friends told him he must have sinned. Job knew he had not. He spoke of his integrity. God listened. Then God spoke. God asked Job where he was when the earth was created. He asked if Job had ever commanded the morning or entered the springs of the sea. Then God spoke of Behemoth. Behemoth, God said, eats grass like an ox. His strength is in his hips. His power is in the muscles of his belly. He moves his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are tightly knit. His bones are like tubes of bronze, his limbs like bars of iron. He is the first of the works of God. Only his maker can approach him with a sword. The hills bring him their produce. All the wild animals play nearby. Under the lotus plants he lies, hidden among the reeds in the marsh. The lotuses cover him with shade. The willows by the brook surround him. Behemoth is not bothered by the river. He is secure, though the Jordan rushes against his mouth. Can anyone capture him when he is on watch, or pierce his nose with snares? God's voice was not unkind. It was the voice of someone explaining what cannot be fully understood. Behemoth was a creature of earth, but he was more. He was a reminder of the power of creation, of the strength and mystery of the world. Job listened. He had nothing to say. Leviathan, Job 41, Psalm 104:26, Isaiah 27:1. God spoke again. He asked Job if he could pull in Leviathan with a fishhook or tie down its tongue with a rope. It was a question that needed no answer. Leviathan, God said, could not be tamed. If you lay a hand on it, you would remember the struggle and never do it again. Any hope of subduing it was false. The mere sight of it was overpowering. No one was fierce enough to rouse it. Who then could stand against God? Who had given to God that God should repay them? Everything under heaven belonged to God. Leviathan's scales were his pride, shut up tightly as with a seal. One was so near to another that no air could come between them. They were joined one to another. They stuck together and could not be parted. When Leviathan sneezed, light flashed out. Its eyes were like the rays of dawn. Flames streamed from its mouth. Sparks of fire shot out. Smoke poured from its nostrils, as from a boiling pot over burning reeds. Its breath kindled coals, and flames darted from its mouth. Strength resided in its neck. Dismay went before it. The folds of its flesh were tightly joined. They were firm and immovable. Its heart was hard as stone, hard as the lower millstone. Leviathan made the depths churn like a boiling cauldron and stirred up the sea like a pot of ointment. Behind it, it left a glistening wake. One would think the deep had white hair. Nothing on earth was its equal, a creature without fear. It looked down on all that are haughty. It was king over all that were proud. God's words were not just about Leviathan. They were about the world. They were about power and the natural order and the folly of thinking any man could control it. Job listened. The world was vast, and he was small. The angel of the Lord was not like other angels. He did not just deliver messages. He was a presence. He appeared to Hagar in the wilderness. He found her by a spring of water. He told her to return to Sarai. He promised her descendants too numerous to count. He appeared to Abraham as he prepared to sacrifice Isaac. He called out from heaven. He stopped Abraham's hand. He provided a ram instead. This was a test. Abraham passed. He wrestled with Jacob. The place was named Peniel. "For I have seen God face to face," Jacob said, "and yet my life has been delivered." The angel of the Lord blessed him there. He appeared to Moses in the flames of a burning bush. The bush was not consumed. He sent Moses to Pharaoh. He promised to lead the people out of Egypt. The angel of the Lord led the people through the desert. He went before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. He was not just an angel. He was the presence of God. He was the way God spoke directly to his people. He was the way God intervened in the world. The angel of the Lord was not mentioned again after the incarnation. He did not need to be. God had come himself. Thank you for watching part 1. Please consider watching part 2 of our video. Remember to like and subscribe and activate the notification bell. Blessings to you all.